Hi, this is just a brief tutorial on how to get through Module 1, Unit 4, Quadratic Models in the General Form, Section 1. So you've already gone through the step-by-step, and so I want to walk through another problem with you. And it says you decide to sell CDs of your piano masterpieces. You're in the process of determining what price to charge for the CD. Based on the data from the sale of other similar CDs, the revenue generated from selling CDs can be modeled with the following quadratic equation, or function. So there's our quadratic function. It says where Y represents the revenue in dollars and X represents the price of a CD. So again, filling in your table, what unit? Well, you're going to use dollars and for both, right? Price and dollars. This first column, just like any of the other ones, is always going to be X, and it tells you the price of CD is X. And when you type in your equation for your revenue, you are going to actually type in the expression or the quadratic function that they have listed. So you type that in, and then you read question number 1. So question number 1 says, while you won't be giving the CDs away for free, what would be the revenue if selling the price were $0? So again, that's if you're assuming X is 0. And you can use this as your calculator, so you can substitute in 0. You can square plus 33 times 0 minus 75. And it will calculate for you just as it's going. Then question 2. Question 2. A competitor is selling her CDs for $16. What is the revenue she would generate? So again, this is 16. And once again, you can substitute in. Be careful that you are actually using parentheses correctly. We've found this year together that if you're not using your parentheses appropriately, it could give you an error. So you substitute those in. And question 3, if you want to generate $52.50 in revenue, so that's this side, $52.50 in revenue from the sales, what is the lower of the possible two prices? And we know there are going to be two prices because it is a quadratic function. So this kind of helps us review what we learned in Algebra 1. So I'm going to suggest that you click the solver. And because you're dealing with a quadratic function, you're going to substitute in 52.5 into for y. Again, if I move this out of the way, I'm substituting in for y because that was my revenue, and then I'm going to write my equation. So negative 1.5 x squared, arrow over, plus 33x, subtract 75, and you push enter. And so now it's saying we're going to solve this function for x, solve this relation for x. So the first thing that you want to do is you always want to, when you're solving any quadratic, you want to set it equal to 0, because that would be if you made no revenue. So I'm going to go transformation. In order to do that, I'm going to have to subtract from both sides, and I would have to subtract that $52.50. And by you pushing enter, your the solver is doing that for you. And again, if you make this a little bit larger now, you can see all those steps. From here, this is now a quadratic function, and we learned in Algebra 1 that you can solve quadratic functions by using the quadratic formula. So as soon as you hit the quadratic formula, a new window appears, and again, none of this is penalizing you because you're still trying to figure out what's the lower of the two prices you can charge to make $52.50. And so the quadratic formula makes you look at the standard form of the function, and it gives you the equation that we learned in Algebra 1. So A is that first value, that negative 1.5, B is 33, and C, you have to keep the sign with it, is negative 27.5. And then you are going to substitute into the equation. So you want the opposite of B. And again, I always suggest using parentheses for anything that you're substituting in. You want B squared, and then minus 4, that's already there. And then you're substituting in the negative 1.5, so put it in parentheses. You're substituting in negative 127.5, close the parenthesis. And then the bottom, you have 2 times A, which is substituting in negative 1.5. As soon as you push enter, it jumps you right back to the solver piece, and so it's saying when you have a quadratic function and you apply the quadratic formula, this is what it looks like. And then what you want to do is you want to simplify. So you hit simplify completely, and what it's doing is it's just like if you plug this into your calculator, it just simplified and took the square root of all of those numbers and it multiplied by 2 on the bottom. It even got rid of our negative sign. Then because you're doing plus or minus, that's what that symbol is, plus or minus, you have to separate it into the roots, the plus root and the minus root. So this is the plus side, this is the minus side. And then again, if you're using the solver function, just hit simplify completely and it will do it for you like you're plugging it into your calculator. Click on this one and choose completely simplify, and you now have your two answers. So again, you can go back over here, you can keep these answers available if you want, and you can read question number 3. And question number 3 says, if you're going to make your $52, which we have, and that's what we set it equal to for our revenue, what is the lower of the two possible prices you can charge? Well, the lower price is $5. And then it asks it says, what higher price can you generate a revenue of $52.50? Well, we have it right here. You could also charge $17, and that would also get you your $52.50. From here, you can close this, and it says, please graph the revenue as a function of price. So you're going to want to adjust, and again, maybe put in your label here. You're going to want to adjust your X and Y values so that your revenue, it's going up pretty high. It's also going pretty low, so you might want to go up to, maybe you're going to generate $100, and this is just saying like, well, apparently in the questions below we're going to go higher, so maybe $200. And then it wants to know, well, what should you count by if you go from 0 to 200? I don't know, maybe 20s. And then because you're going to have to graph 0, negative 75, you may want to put in negative 100 as another value so that you have that negative 75 available. Price of the CD, well, hopefully we're not going to give it away for free, but 0 up to, and then, well, we already said $17, so maybe $50. And instead of counting by ones, maybe I want to count by fives. And then you plot your points. 0 is again here, negative 75, get pretty close, it jumps in there for you. 16, and you're already at $69. At 5, if you spend $5, that was our $52.50, and at $17, we were about the same spot. Then you can draw your curve, and you're going to create a parabola, which makes sense because we have a quadratic function. And now it says, what is the limit to the lower value you could charge for a CD? That is, at which price would the revenue be first be $0? So they're really asking, at what point are you going to start selling? And if you sold your CDs for only $2.57, you will make nothing. You'll break even. See, and there's the 0. And then it asks you to plot the point. Question 6, what is the limit to the highest price you could charge for the CD? That is, at what high price would your revenue be 0? So what that's saying is, if you overcharge, nobody's going to want to buy it either. And again, for this one, for your revenue to be 0, if you charged $19.43, that's the highest you could charge. Other than that, you're going to be losing money. So again, plot your point. And then the last question says, determine the amount you should charge for a CD to get the most, maximize your revenue. So again, drag towards the peak, and it looks like if you charge $11, the most money you can make is $106.50. And then you have to plot that point. And we have now finished all 6 questions. Notice just by answering that question, I have pretty much all of mine filled out already. We just have to go through maybe one or two more questions to make sure we're defining our variables and writing expressions. And what that means is they're constantly looking for these two columns to be filled out correctly. So that's how you do section 4 or unit 4, section 1. And again, I'm done.